Hello, everyone. Welcome to Auntie Derek's Daytime Tea, where we discuss the latest celebrity tea in the news. I'm your host, Auntie Derek, and today is Thursday, June 26th. So, Pride Month is almost over with, so please send your contributions to, if you haven't already, to Auntie at AuntieDerek.com so that way we can talk about you during the Pride Post segment. And thank you to Beezus for coming up with that term, Pride Post. Well, today's Pride Post icon that we're going to talk about today is someone a lot of you may not be too familiar with her. I wasn't until later in life when I did some reading about her. But we're going to talk about Barbara Jordan. And I'm sharing my screen. You all should see her bio here from the National Women's History Museum.org. And it says here, so while the world watched during the impeachment hearings of President Richard Nixon, Barbara Jordan boldly took center stage. As a lawyer, a congresswoman, and a scholar, Jordan used her public speaking skills to fight for civil and human rights. In 1972, Jordan became the first African American woman to be elected to Congress from the South since 1898. So let me read that again. She became the first African American woman to be elected to Congress from the South since 1898. That is wild. But anyway, Barbara Charlene Jordan was born on February 21st, 1936, in Houston, Texas. Okay, another Pisces woman from Houston. Shout out to Chill. So, the daughter of Arlene and Benjamin Jordan, Barbara was the youngest of three children. Her mother was a public speaker, and her father was the pastor of Good Hope Missionary Baptist Church. After attending Robertson Elementary School, Jordan attended Phyllis Wheatley High School and graduated in 1952. Upon graduation, she went to Texas Southern University and earned her bachelor's degree in 1956. She then went to Boston University to get her law degree. Once she passed her law exam, called the bar, Jordan began practicing law in Houston, Texas. For her first job, she worked as an administrative assistant for a county judge. That same year, she began working on the John F. Kennedy presidential campaign. In 1962, Jordan began her political career and ran for the Texas House of Representatives. Although she lost the race, she ran again in 1964. However, she lost again, so in 1966, she decided to run for the Texas Senate instead. This time, Jordan won and became the first African American woman ever elected to that office. Also, she was the first African American state senator in the United States since 1883. During her time as a senator, she worked to establish a minimum wage law, anti discrimination statements in business contracts, and a Fair Employment Practices Commission. She was elected president of the Texas Senate on March 28, 1972, making her the first Black woman in America to oversee a legislative body. During this time, Jordan was also running for Congress, winning by 81%. She became the first African American in the 20th century to be elected to Congress from the South. A lot of firsts, honey. A lot of firsts, I tell you. While in Washington, D.C., as a congresswoman, Jordan served on various committees. Starting in 1975, she served 3 terms on the Judiciary Committee. Jordan quickly became a prominent voice on the Judiciary Committee, and as the committee began the impeachment process against President Richard M. Nixon, Jordan gave the opening remarks. In her speech, she stated her reasons for supporting President Nixon's impeachment and her faith in the Constitution. After her powerful speech, many people surrounded her car and sent her letters and phone calls to congratulate her. President Nixon resigned from office on August 9th of 1974. Following this, Jordan continued to advocate for civil rights protections for many Americans. In 1975, she sponsored legislation that expanded the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to include Latinx, Native, and Asian Americans. A year later, she became the first African American and the first woman keynote speaker at the Democratic National Convention. Jordan continued her political career and began heavily campaigning for Democratic presidential candidate James Earl, Jimmy Carter. In 1977, Carter won the presidential election against President Gerald Ford. During his term, President Carter interviewed Jordan for the cabinet position of the U.S. Attorney General, but he did not offer her the position. The next year, Jordan decided not to run for re-election to Congress. Instead, Jordan became a professor at the University of Texas in Austin as the Lyndon Johnson Chair in National Policy. She taught in the LBJ School of Public Affairs at the university until the early 1990s. In 1992, she delivered the keynote speech at the Democratic National Convention from a wheelchair because she suffered from multiple sclerosis. 2 years later, President Bill Clinton selected her to lead the Commission on Immigration Reform. However, Jordan's health continued to decline. Although she was very quiet about her private life, many historians suggest that her caregiver, Nancy Earle, was also her life partner. Earle was an educational psychologist that traveled with Jordan for nearly 30 years. On January 17th of 1996, Barbara Jordan died from pneumonia, a complication of leukemia. So yes, it appears here that Nancy Earle was Miss Barbara Jordan's quote unquote roommate, but we can understand why she wasn't very open about her private life. But shout out to this woman and truly thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. Thank you. And I really hate that like I didn't learn about her in school. I had to like find out about her later in life. So, but hopefully, by me talking about her today, that'll hopefully guide somebody else to tell their kids about her. So, shout out to Barbara Jordan. In the comment, you need to record that phone ringing and use as your story transitions. Well, that's a good idea. But that's the thing. These calls are unpredictable. I don't know when they're calling. All right. So, again, shout out to Barbara Jordan. So let's get started with the tea, honey. And because my co-host Chill isn't here, it's tea time. I try to do it in her best voice. So, closing arguments today, y'all. We've done all this talking about the Diddy trial, done read it to death, and now it is time for both the prosecution and the defense to put their baddest heifers on the floor, honey. It is go time. So, in the comments we have my tea time that sucked to bring back chill. I agree. After I did, I said, "What did I just do? That sounded horrible." But let me share this screen from the CNN link showing the live updates about the trial. Okay, let's catch up. We have one catch up section here. So prosecutors are presenting their closing arguments. Hear what they've said so far. So after 6 weeks of testimony, the government today has started to present closing arguments in their sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy case against Sean Diddy Combs. Prosecutor Christy Slavic delivered the remarks, which are expected to take at least 4 hours. Now, already, because everybody kept saying the other lady, Maureen Comey, the other prosecutor, she would have been the best one to give the closing arguments because she's actually very good at that. But I guess they must have determined that Christy was the best one to deliver it. I don't know. But anyway, here's what she said so far about the criminal enterprise. Slavic began her presentation by characterizing Combs as the leader of a criminal enterprise who they allege committed several crimes, including kidnapping, arson, forced labor, bribery, and the brutal crimes at the heart of this case, sex trafficking. Slavic said that the enterprise serviced Combs' personal desires through a pattern of violence, coercion, and manipulation. What she said about the inner circle. The so-called enterprise refers to Combs and his trusted inner circle that Slavic said existed to serve his needs and what he said went. Members of this inner circle included his loyal ex-chief of staff, Christina Quorum, his security guards, and his assistants. Slavic said these lieutenants were at Combs' side for some of the most violent and threatening acts. Let's see, the 2 racketeering acts. Slavic explained that the jury must unanimously find Combs knowingly and willfully agreed that he or another member of the conspiracy would commit 2 racketeering acts under the racketeering conspiracy count, including drug distribution, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and sex trafficking. And just a quick little note, because I do remember we read yesterday that that the prosecution decided to drop the kidnapping and which other kidnapping and the arson. they say they weren't gonna go after him for the kid blowing up Kid Cudi's car, allegedly. So anyway, the drug distribution. The distribution of drugs was an essential part of each freak off, Slavic said, adding that all of the evidence shows you that getting drugs for the defendant was a group effort. The kidnapping. Slavic referred to Ventura's testimony about a time in 2009 when Combs forced her to stay in a hotel for a week while her injuries healed after he physically assaulted her in a car. This is kidnapping, Slavic said. Slavic also recalled Capricorn Clark's testimony about how his team locked her in a building to take several lie detector tests and separately forced her to go with him to rapper Kid Cudi's house after Combs learned Ventura was dating him. And the arson, referring to the torching of Kid Cudi's car, Slavic said that, of course, the defendant was behind this, based on several coincidences she outlined, even if they're not suggesting Combs personally carried out the crime himself. The bribery. Slavic recalled the 2016 incident at the Intercontinental Hotel where Combs was seen in surveillance footage physically assaulting Ventura and later paid $100,000 to a hotel staffer to delete the footage, marking the bribe complete, Slavic said. He knew that he could be arrested if the police knew what he did to Cassie at that hotel, she added. And then the sex trafficking. Combs Enterprise, she said, helped Combs commit sex trafficking of Ventura and Jane and showed the jury images of 27 men that Combs hired to have sex with Ventura, Jane, or both through threats, drugs, lies, manipulation, and violence. This is not an attempt to criminalize dysfunctional relationship or unconventional sexual preferences, she added. And I'm glad she did say that because you kind of see the discourse around this trial, and a lot of people people keep on talking about the no Diddy, it being equivalent to no homo and all that, and clearly he's done nothing with all of the stuff that he's read suggested that he's done nothing with men. He orchestrated violent sex acts against women while he sat and watched and played with his Tootsie Roll. There was nothing gay about Diddy, and I just really hate the discourse around it. But anyway, I can talk about that all day. So that was from the catch up. Let's see. Does anybody? I'm just looking at the comments to see if anybody have anything to add about the catch up section. Okay. Well, let's see what we have because it looks like a lot of stuff. But and I feel like if this is just going to be an elaboration of what we just read in this catch up summary, then maybe I don't need to read it. But let me just kind of quickly go through it. Yep, prosecutors closing arguments are good citizens. Yep, we know that. Judge outlines schedules for the next 2 days. Let me just quickly read over this. Today will be a shorter day as the trial will adjourn after prosecutor Christy Slavic prevents the government's closing arguments. Mark, y'all, I have been saying his name wrong. I finally learned how to say it after I heard Harvey Levin say it. I've been calling him Mark Agnifilo. It's Mark Agnifilo. So my apologies, Mr. Agnifilo. I have been saying your name wrong the entire time. But anyway, Mark Agnifilo will give the defense closing arguments at 9 a.m., followed by the government's rebuttal before the judge charges the jury. Sabramian said moving forward with deliberations, the jury will decide its schedule. The jury is expected in the courtroom at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Let me see. What else do we have? Prosecution start closing arguments. So yeah, I'm based off of what I'm seeing, it just looks like an elaboration of what we just read. So for one, the sake of time, and two, the sake of not repeating myself for this horrible stuff, I guess I could just go ahead and end Diddy here. Let me just make sure though, because I want to make sure we get all that. Yep, Capricorn Clark, kidnapped Capricorn Clark, threatened to kill Kid Cudi. Yep. Of course, the defendant was behind this. Yep, we went over that. The prosecutor talking about him bribing. Yep. So yeah. So thank you, CNN, for summing all of that up, so I won't have to read all of this. Let me see. Let's see what's after that. James text to Combs after Ventura lawsuit. So I don't think it had this in the summary. So Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic said that when Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit in November of 2023, it bore a harrowing resemblance to what Jane was experiencing. Jane had already been saying the same thing for months, Slavic said. Slavic told the jury that text Jane sent Diddy after the lawsuit spoke volumes. She read excerpts, including, "I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma, and this was sexual exploitation that you framed as love for your sick fetishes." Slavic played a part of a phone call between Combs and Jane after the lawsuit, including a moment when Combs interrupts Jane. Slavic said the recording shows Combs presented her with a false narrative of the events, but when his gaslighting didn't work, he cut Jane off as soon as she started telling the truth. Jane refused to see Combs for several months after the lawsuit, Slavic said. Let's see. The next update, prosecutors said that Combs knew exactly what he was doing. He did. So prosecutor Christy Slavic told the jury that Diddy coerced Jane, one of his accusers, into the drug-fueled sexual performances he called quote-unquote hotel nights. The defendant's conduct had one purpose: to get Jane to agree to do hotel nights, Slavic said. And because the defendant knew exactly what he was doing, this was sex trafficking. In order to find Combs guilty of sex trafficking, Slavic told the jury they have to find that Combs used force, fraud, threats, or coercion to make Jane participate in hotel nights. Slavic said they can find he used any of those means alone or any combination of them. The fact that a victim consents once to a commercial sex act, that doesn't mean that she consented every time, Slavic said. You only need to find that one of these hotel nights meets the definition of sex trafficking here. Oh, that's very interesting to know. Okay. Let's see. Next update, Jane pleaded for help from ex-chief of staff, jury told. Ooh. Oh. So Jane testified that after Ventura's lawsuit, Diddy told her to charge him during their conversations. Jane testified at trial that Combs said to her, charge me for your resentment. I just need you to get over this. Just tell me what it is. I don't want any loose ends. Just charge me." Okay, so he thinks money can pretty much make everything go away. Mm-mm. Jane reached out to Christina Coram, Combs' former chief of staff, and after she and Combs broke up, asking Coram to intervene when Combs wouldn't leave her alone. In a text Jane wrote to Coram in December 2023, she said in part, "Hey, I know I would normally not involve you in anything, but he just threatened me about my sex tapes that he has of me on 2 phones. He said that he would expose me and send them to my child's father. He said, he has been bothering me for 2 months after all I've been asking for is my space. He knew that, and all I asked for was my space and quiet time. I'm traumatized from my experiences with him, and I'm just privately healing, and he keeps bothering me. Mind you, these are sex tapes where I'm heavily drugged and doing things that he asked for of me for the past 3 years that I'm currently recovering from. It's also extremely hurtful, very hurtful. For him to exploit me all this time and then threaten me with sex tapes, please talk some sense into him because this isn't fair to me at all whatsoever. I'm beyond hurt by him." And Coram, who didn't act surprised, responded, "I always tell him all the time to just give these things space. Otherwise, we end up in a situation like we're in now." And oop. Mm-mm. Okay. Next update. Combs lured Jane to New York with false promises, then coerced her into sex with escort, jury told. And I actually remember us reading about that a few days ago, back when she was on the stand. So, Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic told the jury that Diddy sex trafficked Jane in September 2023 by coercing her to travel to New York to see him, promising they would spend the night in a hotel. Jane told him in a text before the trip, "I don't want you to play this role. I don't want to play this role in your life anymore. It's dark, sleazy, and makes me feel disgusted with myself. I feel it's the only reason you have me around and why you pay for the house. I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights with you in fear of losing the roof over my head." Combs eventually convinced Jane to fly to New York, promising her a trip filled with activities and quality time. But once she was on the plane mid-air, he told her he had a surprise, which was a new male escort. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is around the time for around her birthday as well. Combs enticed and transported Jane to get on the plane, telling her a material lie, Slavic said. The prosecutor also reminded the jury of evidence they saw earlier at trial that Combs was setting up an escort with the Cowboys for Angel service during the time he was convincing Jane to travel to New York. Okay. Next update. Um, Combs coerced Jane into hotel night at sobriety party, prosecutor says. Mm-mm. So Diddy sex trafficked Jane in October 2023 at a sobriety party, Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic told the jury. Jane has told the defendant multiple times, repeatedly, that she does not want to keep doing these hotel nights, Slavic said. She pointed to messages Jane sent to Combs before that night, saying in part, "I'm not a porn star. I'm not an animal. I need a break." Combs responded by making false promises about them spending time together. When Jane continued to resist, he switches from carrot to stick, Slavic said. That stick is Jane's house that he's paying for. Finally, Combs told Jane that he was sick and needed Jane to take care of him. And finally, the defendant tactics work, Slavic said. Jane soon found herself in a hotel room having sex with other men. Jane testified it was her first time doing a hotel night without taking any drugs. Jane was so overwhelmed by the experience that she vomited between the second and third man, Slavic said. And even when she vomited, the defendant wouldn't let her stop. Slavic said this was an example of Combs using coercion to make Jane participate in a hotel night. The defendant knew that Jane didn't want a hotel night that night. She told him that repeatedly. Look at her text messages. Look back at her testimony, Slavic said. She did not want to have sex with strangers, but the defendant refused to take no for an answer. Okay, the next update, the court is taking a break. So let's see what's the other one they have. Okay, so and this is just a summary. So there we have it, baby. Oof. I just, ooh, child. Ooh, child. I'm just, hey, Chili.
I see I've been in demand, so here I am.
You see the chat, right, honey? They won't chill, honey. The hell with Auntie Derek, they won't chill.
Hey.
And you know what? I can't even blame them.
Yeah, they got him on sex trafficking for sure. They've proven that part.
Yes, indeed. Now the racketeering, and I'm thinking maybe that comment I just read may kind of help with the record, because initially I was like, I'm not sure if they really prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. But now the fact that they got to see the images, they got to see the videos of the freak offs and stuff like that, and then her saying that she did the last freak off, because he kept saying he was sick and wanted her to take care of him. She did it with no drugs. She threw up in between guy number 2 and number 3, and even after throwing up, it
he wouldn't.
So yeah, he wouldn't let her stop. So that's definitely coercion. And then him getting those drugs, under those recreational drugs they have to take under the name Frank Black.
Yeah, I imagine you would need drugs to do that, and not be repulsed by it.
Not Derek. Excuse me, bitch. I ain't in the drug. No, if you gonna give everybody else some cocktails, you better give me some too. Don't act like I'm resilient. Why I gotta be the resilient bitch out of here? But it's crazy how many have become numb of his freak offs, and how the people were under duress to participate. Exactly. And then his team of people who pretty much had to act like they didn't know what was going on. Like Christina Quorum. Well, that's that on that, honey. I will certainly update y'all for tomorrow's show. Does anybody have anything they want to add? Well, all right. Well, let's go ahead and go on to the next story, honey. Oh, and chill. I tried to do it's tea time, baby. They ate me up in the chat. They was like, "Bitch, don't ever do that shit again. You done lost your damn mind. Bring chill back." No. And I agree with. I was like, you know what, y'all, you right. That was horrible.
thank y'all for sticking up for me.
Yes, indeed, honey. Well, okay, so I'm. Do y'all remember I have told y'all several times before that I used to work for Ra Ali? Well, before she was Ra Ali, before people started knowing her as Ra Ali, she was Rashida, and Rashida of bourgeoisie shoes. I actually used to work in her shoe store back in 2009. Honestly, she was a very fun boss to work for. I had a really good time working in her store. But she's actually the have y'all heard of the website On Site? It's a gossip website similar to like the Shade Room, Hot New Hip Hop, all of them. Oh, y'all haven't heard? Well, anyway, she runs On Site, and she does interviews with people. She was actually doing an interview with French Montana. She asked him a question, and he walked right out on her, honey. Talking about, oh, I'm double parked. I gotta go real quick, and then walk right on out. But
Wow.
let's, girl. I was like, whoa, why he do her like that? And then it looks like they were having a pretty good interview because this didn't happen until like the 7-minute mark. So let me just share my screen really quick. I have a Vibe link that talks about it pretty much. French Montana immediately exits interview when asked about Drake and Rick Ross. So let me go down to the video. Here we go here. And I'm just going to skip through to where it happens. Let me make sure we won't miss anything. Okay.
That's even on their mind.
All right. But speaking of beefs, I do have to ask you, what's the status of things with Ross and Drake?
Hold this. Yes.
Hold it.
Touchdown. I'll be right back. I think I double parked my car outside.
You double parked. Okay.
Yeah. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. Where is he going?
I think he left.
I'm asking questions not to railroad you or make you feel uncomfortable. I'm speaking on behalf of the audience, the viewers, the fans, the last situation they seen you in. What's the status of those things?
All right, so I mean, this is not your first interview with him, though. You've interviewed him before.
Yes, I interviewed him before, but it was on the phone.
Got you.
Only it wasn't video. So
has this ever happened with you guys before?
never, never.
Crazy.
My friendships are long lasting. My friendships are mutual respect, as we said in the interview. And I really was just asking the questions that I know that the people want to know. And you know what else? He's going to finish that interview. He's going to finish it.
She said, hey, you know what else? He's going to finish that interview. He's going to finish it. Listen, it's a few people in this world that you should not play with. Rob Ali is one of them. This lady will fight dudes and will not think twice about it. But I just thought that was kind of funny. He was the first he said, oh yeah, I'm double parked. Hold this for me. And then just kind of skipped his ass. Sorry. I don't know why that tickled me so much, but it did. But shout out to Ra Ali. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed working in her store simply because like it was like smack dab in the middle of Harlem. It was a shoe teak. Like she sold high end shoes like Casade, Giuseppe's, all of those type of shoes. So you see that, and she had like a really nice window display. What I loved about the job is that I really didn't have to do much work because when them Harlem girls walked up in there because they saw the cute shoes in the window and they'd be like, oh, how much those shoes in the window? And I'd be like, oh, those are $900. Them girls would be like, oh, okay, well, you have a nice day, and walk their ass right back out. And then once upon a time, for a very long time, if you were to call the store, again, it was called Bourgeoisie Shoes. If you were to call and heard the voicemail, you heard a nice voice going, hello, you've reached Bourgeoisie Shoes, your A-list shoe source. that was yours truly. So again, shout out to her, honey. And get that interview, girl. Don't let that damn Moroccan man snub you on your interview. You go chase his ass. You have to. You get that motherfucking interview. Oh, do you see this comment in the chat chill? I can't even talk. This bitch just gagged me so much. Talking about, is that why the store closed? Hammy, you got me fucked up.
Oh, Hammy got the one-liners for sure.
I was gagged. I was not ready. He made me sick. Well, does anybody want to add anything about my former boss, Ra Ali, before we go to the next story? Okay, well, the next story that we have, y'all remember yesterday we talked about Amina Butterfly and how she's saying that she lost her LA home and she had to relocate to Germany. Mm-hmm. And then Peter Gunn said that he was going to respond at a certain time. Well, I have Peter Gunn's response, y'all. Let's go ahead and watch. He was actually talking to Godfrey about it, and he pretty much said Amina is full of shit. She's full of shit. So let's watch it.
Trump may not let you back in this motherfucker, Amina. You know, and you and I know why. So now I will have to fly in to LAX in the event that they don't let you. Right. So Amina says to me, Peter, if they don't let me back in, it's just meant for me to stay in Germany. I literally had to sign for my kids to go. I wasn't comfortable with it. Not at this date and time with what's going on with ICE and all this crazy shit. Hence the reason why we married. Anyway, if I'm being honest with you on some brother shit, the last thing I would ever do is lie. Right. I would never lie or cap.
You never lie. You never lie.
I love my kids, bro. My kids can never be home.
Real shit.
I have an apartment in Dallas. I said, Amina, just go stay in Dallas. Live there. What am I going to do in Dallas? Live rent free? Swim? Go at amenities, chill for a little bit, give me a breather because I can't pay rent every multiple places. Get the place up in Dallas. I send Amina thousands every month. Yeah. Whatever she asks, she will get on here and tell you the truth. Just that she was able to hold her side of shit up. She felt like she, you know, like, damn, this is just, I'm stressed. I need to go. So I let her go. But I had no idea that she was going to leave the world thinking that she was homeless. I bought a round trip ticket. They come back on the 23rd of August. Right. I got the Airbnb in LA. I was going to pay that up for a couple of months. Why I tell the world? And it's just like, I feel so fucked up. I feel a little betrayed in a way because she knows that could never be.
Yeah.
It makes me look crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's fucked up.
Saying on there, I'm thank God for my family in Germany. I'm the only one that was giving her money monthly.
Wow.
I'm the reason you're in Germany. I paid for your flights and everything. Even when you got a nigga sitting at the piano playing with you that tried to line me up.
What?
Did y'all hear what he was saying? Child, he said, well, first of all, I bought her a round trip ticket to Germany. She was supposed to come back. And instead of coming back, she gonna get online and tell the world that she's homeless. I done said that and told her, Amina, stay in my place at Dallas. Well, what am I going to do in Dallas, Peter? I don't know. Not pay rent and figure something out. But then again, Peter is also a known liar. So I don't know. Maybe but I do believe what he's saying about his kids, though. He wouldn't want to see his kids homeless, and I'm sure he has done everything he could to prevent that, and definitely didn't want to see his kids in another country, but was probably led to believe that Amina was going over to Germany to visit some family, get her head together and come right back. And that's not what happened. So let me not talk more about this because it sounded like I'm starting to defend a straight man, and I don't like how that sounded right now. So anyway, does anybody want to add anything else before we go to the next story? Oh, yeah, and then the comment about Godfrey, that motherfucker is so damn fine, honey. We have a comment saying, off topic, but I give Godfrey so much cooch, more than he can handle. And you're not alone. I, too, would give him so much cooch, more than he can handle. So, shout out to that fine-ass Godfrey, honey. Oh, fine and funny. Woo, child. Dangerous. Well, anyway, the next story, Lyrica Anderson. So while we still talking about people that was on Love and Hip Hop, Lyrica Anderson, she's talking about how she was snubbed from Beyonce's from writing credits from Beyonce's songs "Drunk in Love." So let's watch her. She was talking about that on a podcast recently. Let me share my screen here. The video should be loading.
When we did Jealous, I also did Drunk in Love.
Oh,
I didn't get credited for that.
What? Wait,
Yeah.
that's like Eric. Eric didn't get credited for Nicki Minaj's Anaconda. Like,
I'm not surprised. So I'm saying
Drunk in Love.
Drunk in Love, and that was like a big one, like probably bigger and next door,
What
bigger than
happened?
Jealous. You know, songwriters get stingy and we only have this percentage to split because she's taking this and this taking that. Can you let this one slide? And my dumb said yes, but didn't want to. Never again.
I'm hurt for you.
Yeah, exactly.
You tell me the whole story later. That's crazy.
I know, it's supposed to be a viral snippet.
But you heard it on Shirley's Temple, okay? Lyrica Anderson contributed to Drunk in Love.
Period.
What part?
I'm not about to like sing the part. I don't know. The song in general, top to bottom.
Damn.
So yeah.
Hello?
Oh, sorry about that, honey. I was sitting there running my mouth and I was on mute. I am so sorry. So, it says here on the bright side, her work for the song Jealous from the same self-titled Beyonce album as Drunk in Love has her name firmly planted. And we've reached out to B for comment. No word back. She's been in Cowboy Carter mode on tour. So, yeah, this is interesting. And as much as the stan I am, I'm part of the Beehive, but this is not the first time that we've heard about our Queen Bee not giving people their proper credits when it comes to writing. So, hey, who knows? I mean, I have no reason not to believe Lyrica. Lyrica is a lot of things, but one thing she's not is a liar. So, and shout out to her mama, Lyrica G, whom I adore. Wasn't Lyrica G one of the Ikettes, if I'm not mistaken?
She sang with a group, but I'm not sure if it was the Ikettes.
Okay.
Singer, but don't make me tell a lie.
Well, shout out. I wonder what this it's one of those things that I'm pretty sure that she has opened herself up to, because when it comes to Queen Bee, honey, the Beehive don't give a fresh fuck. They will cuss out their own grandma over some Beyonce. So maybe her mentions is ever since she told her truth about this, I'm sure her mentions have been on fire. So that's that on that. I'm sure we have not heard the last about this, to be honest. Does anybody want to add anything before we go to the next story? All right, well, let me get the next link. Honey, James Harden. This is bad, y'all, real bad. So they saying him and his security pretty much looked the other way after a rape at his house in Texas.
Uh-oh.
So I'm sharing this link from Vibe. James Harden accused of negligence in sexual assault lawsuit involving relative. So NBA star James Harden is facing a civil lawsuit accusing him of negligence in connection to an alleged sexual assault that took place at his Houston estate during a New Year's Eve party in 2024. The suit, filed in Harris County, Texas, by plaintiff Marissa Watley and obtained by USA Today Sports, alleges that Harden's nephew, Justice Armani Blackburn, raped Watley during the gathering, and that Harden's in-home security team mishandled the situation in a way that may have prevented timely intervention. According to the 18-page complaint, Watley's friends were removed from the premises by Harden's security, leaving her inside the residence alone. When her friends grew concerned, they sent a photo of Watley to her sister. Watley's sister then forwarded that image to Blackburn's mother, who is Hardin's sister, who in turn showed it to Hardin's security. The suit alleges that security denied the woman in the photo was Watley, a claim the lawsuit disputes. Watley's attorney argue that the Los Angeles Clippers star should be held vicariously liable for the actions of his guards and their corporate employer, both of whom are named as co-defendants in the case. Since New Year's Day, when I reported the rape by Mr. Blackburn to the police, I have remained puzzled by how Mr. Hardin's security behaved that day. It is painful to imagine that this all could have been stopped in time, Watley said in a statement. I hope this complaint pushes security employees generally to act more responsibly when women are in danger. Her legal team added, Ms. Watley has shown great strength and courage in coming forward to hold Mr. Blackburn and Mr. Hardin accountable for what happened to her on New Year's Day, 2025, in Mr. Hardin's mansion. The rape was immediately reported to the police, and we will bring Mr. Blackburn and Mr. Hardin to justice through the civil justice system. As of now, neither Hardin nor his representatives have publicly commented on the allegations.
Well, these people are a problem. These celebrities, athletes.
They the problem, and then the people around them, even the cousins, the relatives, or whatever he is to him, did that shit in his name. You know, this is why I can't stand motherfuckers. I swear to Bob, I can't.
Yeah,
stand
why would you do that? You know, you're putting your relative in a bad light. You know, you come to their house and you raping somebody, but then they didn't handle it
and kicked all of her friends out.
Yeah, this is the problem that women have with men and their friends. They know their friend is trash, but they won't do anything about it. Won't check him or nothing. Still hang out with that person, but they know he's an abuser. They even know sometimes that he's a rapist. Like, come on.
Yes, indeed.
No. Well, guess whose pockets they came after?
Mm-hmm. What our big sister Monique says, see, when you do clownery, the clown comes back to bite. Mm-hmm. You see, I try to do it in my best Baltimore accent.
Yeah,
I heard.
You do clownery.
Shout out to the people of Baltimore. I love y'all accents, and I don't care what. No, I'm not crazy, and I love y'all accents.
The show do come back to bite, and I'm happy. I'm happy about it. Just say it all, girl. Speak it. Speak up.
And now people can't try to use that argument. Oh, well, she waited too long. Nope. She immediately went to the police after it happened. So don't play with her.
Yep.
Well, that's that on that. Does anybody want to add anything about Hardin, his rapist cousin, or his bootleg celebrity before we go to the next story? Not bootleg, but bootleg security before we go to the next story. Mm-hmm. Well, this is another sports ball story, but it's actually on the other side, honey. This actually shows the girl being crazy. I think we need more stories like this. So, are y'all familiar with somebody by the name of Dylan Brooks? You know, I don't follow sports, so these names don't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he actually filed a restraining order against his ex. And we're going to talk about it from TMZ Sports. You see where it says here, NBA's Dylan Brooks files for restraining order against his ex. That white girl. Okay. File restraining order on these white bitches. Mace them if you have to. Allegedly. Dylan Brooks split with the mother of his children. Has gotten even nastier. TMZ Sports has learned the NBA star is now asking for a restraining order against his ex. Brooks filed for the temporary restraining order in Los Angeles on Wednesday, alleging Heather Andrews, who shares a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, who he has a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old with, has destroyed his belongings, hacked into his social media accounts, and even once threatened to cut off his fingers. How crazy ass. Brooks said in his request he met Andrews back in 2018 at a Las Vegas nightclub and started dating her a short time later. He said within months, she got pregnant with their first child. And around that time, he claimed her harassment of him began. Brooks said she would send him emotionally abusive messages regularly and often shared screen grabs of their private conversation with gossip websites to make him look bad. Years later, after Andrews became pregnant with their second baby, Brooks alleged she started becoming increasingly more aggressive and threatening. He said her threats referenced various different ways that she was going to hurt me, either personally, professionally, or both, Brooks wrote. And here's a screen grab of the text that she sent him. Like, I'm going to have you hurt. Wet bitch can't ask about your kid. Or the one in my stomach, I'm going to pull up on you. I'm pregnant. I have an excuse. LOL. I'll pull up at the gym. I'm done fucking around. It's war, bitch. Just wait. I'll have someone cut each of your fingers. Having someone cut each of your fucking little fingers off one by one, so you can never play basketball. LOL. And actually, now I understand why people are racist.
Wow.
Girl. So if I had if even a little bit of sympathy for this white bitch, it has gone. That little one statement, that last, gone. So anyway, he said one of her messages read, oh yeah, we just read it. Unless we can skip that part. Andrews also allegedly threatened Brooks's mother, as the basketball player claimed she wrote to him, "I'll send someone after your mom too, bitch." Additionally, Brooke claimed in 2022, while he was a member of the Grizzlies, Andrews vandalized his Memphis home by writing, "You suck, bitch," and other words on his outdoor fireplace mantle. Girl. Girl. More recently, he claimed she got unauthorized access to his Our Family Wizard account, a co-parenting app, excuse me, and sent a criminal threat message to herself purporting to come from me. Brooks' filing comes less than a year after Andrews obtained her own temporary restraining order against the 29-year-old, alleging he had harassed and threatened her. A judge is expected to hear arguments from both sides in LA late next month. While there's clearly a lot going on in Brooks' personal life, there's also been a significant developments in his professional one, as he was just traded last week from the Suns to the Suns from the Rockets in a deal that involved Kevin Durant. Okay, that last sentence sounds important. I'm just going to assume that it is because I don't follow sports ball.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
that's.
I don't feel bad for him though. If first of all, you started dating her, she got pregnant within a few months, you already a victim of the game, you dumb motherfucker. And then she already did screen grabs and so forth and started crazy behavior after the birth of the first kid. And you stayed with her and continued to have sex with this woman and impregnate her again. Well, yeah, you get what you get. I'm sorry for the children that you've created with this fool.
Yeah.
But this is, you brought this on yourself, brother.
Agreed. And again, when you do your clownery,
Oh, that clown is busy, baby. Just like folks.
okay. Ooh, child.
Yeah, this is crazy. Why do you know? You just assume people have better sense. You really do, and they don't. They don't. Like, and she's not even all that. Like, why? Why would you let this woman put you in this position? Have you heard of rubbers? Like, what in the world is going on in your brain that you let this woman twice after she's already acted a fool? You keep going. I just don't have any sympathy for this.
Yeah. I really don't. I don't have any sympathy for him, and damn sure don't have any sympathy for her.
No,
With
for
her
sure.
racist ass.
Mm-mm. Yeah, she was racist before she typed that. But you're not racist when the man got money. See, money. Ooh, money. Money, money, money. I remember, I forget this basketball player's name, but he was on Twitter talking about how black women were ugly. He had a white wife. And this man was not the best looking of people. I'm thinking, if your paycheck didn't have all those zeros in it, do you think this white woman would have anything at all to do with you? I mean, it was so stupid. Like, are you this dense that you think she's with you for your looks and personality.
Yes, he's that dense.
You putting down black women because you really think you the prize. Oh my God, it was just.
Yes, he is literally that dense if he thinks something like that.
Yeah. I guess he was. It's just sad.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, these white women snatch up these, and they get them in college. This
Yep.
is a post from black players in college how they, the colleges throw these white women at these athletes, have them showing them around campus, and being at the beck and call, and yeah.
Chill. I'll actually take it a step further, honey. They're doing that in high school, like when they be going to these camps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They get them early.
I believe it. Yeah, they catch them for the financial potential. And they let it happen. Like, what? And it's
listen. You and I will talk offline, honey. I got a personal story to tell you. We'll talk offline.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see you later tonight.
Okay. Well, did anybody want to add anything about this bullshit or being indoctrinated by white girls before we go to the next story? Well, our next story. See, let me just start off by saying, anytime I'm talking about a lying ass Libra, I'm never talking about Hammy. Hammy is one of the few Libras who don't lie. Let's just start there. But Ashanti, her lying ass. Let me get this link here. Child, girl, you tried it. Because you do realize we saw the material, right? Okay, anyway. We won't spend too much time on this story because I don't really see it for Nelly's ass. But Ashanti reveals Nelly is quote unquote packing in Wild reality show teaser. Girl, bye. So, and I'm just gonna go straight to the clip where she said that bullshit.
He's packing. How you think KK got here? No, just I hate you.
And he just winking and shit like he don't have that Tootsie Roll down in his pants. Do y'all remember when that video leaked about him getting his dingling sucked? Now I think he leaked it quiet as it's kept, but I can't prove it. But and she was sucking on that little Tootsie Roll, and now she's talking about packing what, girl? What is he packing? That's why you gotta do when it comes to them Libras, except for Hammy, you really gotta, anytime they tell you something, you gotta maybe do a little bit of further research and stuff. Hammy, like I said before, baby, it's time for you to call a meeting. Because you got people like this woman. But at the same time, I will admit, when you in love, them 4 inches feel like 9. I'm telling you. That love add an extra 5 inches of dick, honey.
No. No, you still have eyes.
Chill, I almost choked on my coffee.
No, you may accept that, but it does not add a damn thing. For her to sit there and tell that lie when we all have video proof that it's not true, no. There's no imaginary penis that comes with love, no.
Well, you heard it from a health professional, huh? Y'all stop that bullshit.
Are you happy with what he has? That's all we need to know, but don't be embellishing.
And she definitely embellished, child. Woo, child.
He's packing, girl.
And I really hate the first you lying on that his dingling, sit there. I'm really side-eyeing Ashanti. As much as I love the girl, I'm really giving her a side-eye. You really chose to not only marry that Trump supporter, but also procreate with him.
I don't know. Maybe he had some kind of surgical appendage, something. If he enhanced it somehow, but what we saw, no.
Mm-mm. And he's probably one of those men that don't have the size to cut the mustard, but he could probably lick the jar. if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, you don't have the size. You better know how to lick the mustard jar, man.
Well, that was dead on that. Does anybody want to add anything about that Trump supporter or his lying ass wife before we go to the next story?
She could just sit down with that.
Really, she can't.
We're talking about mustard, Happy. Great poupon.
Well, I have 2 more stories left. The first story, so remember we talked about Fat Joe's lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
It's Fat Joe being sued. He finally released a statement, and we're going to read his statement. So it's right on his Instagram page. Let me get it for y'all and share my screen. We'll talk about the comments after I read it, but girl. So I've been tested the last few months. I've lost my big brother, my father, my mother, and now I'm fighting against these disgusting lies. But please know, I will not break and I will never back down. I've had individuals in my circle take my love and kindness for weakness, but how many times must we forgive them? I've had people steal from me, grow jealous of me, lie on me. Through it all, me and my family are the ones stuck dealing with the consequences of their bad decisions. If you get fired for doing something wrong, just take the L and live with it. But instead, they plot on your downfall as they watch you move on with your life. They decide to go after one of the things you value the most, your reputation. They figure they can make up the most insane stories, and if they threaten you with a lawsuit, then you'll pay, and they'll feel like they finally won. Problem with your theory, I've never let anyone on the streets extort me. So how would I ever let a crooked attorney and a coward ex-hype man extort me? I'm from the Bronx. Mr. Tyrone Blackburn, attorney at law, since you want the clout, we will finish you in court. The time of lawyers using their law license as a badge to extort people and destroy families with no evidence is over. I'm not the one. You messed with the wrong one this time. Signed, Joseph Fat Joe Carter Jenner. Okay, girl. And now this comment here, Stephanie Mills. Stephanie Mills, baby, what are you doing? What are you doing, girl? You literally did not have to comment on that. Talking about God's got you, and I am down with you for life. Girl, what are you doing? Oh, honey.
Don't make it. Girl, don't do it.
Stephanie, baby, I want better for you. For real.
Why did you come off the yellow brick road and insert yourself into that mess? Ooh.
I just don't have, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, what does she gain? But she literally gains nothing. She literally loses nothing if she doesn't support, and she could have just supported him in silence if she really wanted to do that.
Could have sent him a private message, anything, but this right here.
She want people to know where she stands, honey.
Okay.
Well, that's that on that. Does anybody want to go add anything about him or Stephanie before we go to the last story? Okay, well, y'all, this last story, honey, if you need any more proof to keep these culture vultures away from your spaces, then, honey, if you need any more proof, I really don't know what to tell you, because this is Scott Storch. I'm sure y'all are familiar with him. He's like a super producer. We have heard his songs all through the years.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you know that he actually initially was a part of The Roots?
Oh.
The group out of Philly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how he was pretty much kicked out, and because he felt that he wasn't taken serious. Well, it's a whole 3-minute video. We're about to watch it together, honey. And apologies in advance, y'all. Y'all really gonna be annoyed, because I'm like, really? This is why we need to keep these culture vultures out our spaces.
And Scott, who were you at that point? Because Dre was already Dre, but you weren't known at that point. I know you were with The Roots, but at this point, Dre was here. Where were you?
It's you should have your headphones on, man. I was the producer's producer. No, I mean, like, honestly, I started in the Roots and did a lot of stuff for them. Very underappreciated, and I was the guy who, like, again, came up with a lot of the nucleus of what that shit was. And I left the group and was told that I was like the Pete Best of the Roots. You know, Pete Best is the guy that quit the
Beatles, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I mean, even my girlfriend like broke up with me because of that and said, "Oh, you fucked up," and this and that. I was like, "No, I didn't. Like, I see bigger. I'm not going to go on the road with a bunch of guys that don't appreciate me and be like, that's the white guy who plays keys in the Roots." Like,
So
no,
they
I'm the
didn't
fucking guy
appreciate you.
coming up with all the shit.
They didn't appreciate you.
Not at all.
There
As
was
a matter
a
of fact,
falling
they
out.
call me the white devil. And I'm like the most harmonious, loving, non-racist person ever. And like, it just hurt me. I was like,
how'd you
man,
meet him? How'd you link up with them?
fuck.
Because I work out to one of the songs from Roots.
Yeah,
The one
and
that
I
you did.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't made for the Roots. That song, after I left the Roots, they realized, I guess, that they needed me still. And I was, you know, I got my own little studio in this place called Sigma Sound where all the like disco stuff was recorded.
This is where? What city?
In Philly.
Okay.
And they record there downstairs. So of course they come upstairs and they're like, you got anything? And they saw I was working with this girl. I'm working with a girl who at the time worked at Urban Outfitters. And now she's one of the most legendary neo soul legends, Jill Scott.
Of course.
So Jill Scott was not an artist. I was like, yo, you should be an artist. You're awesome. She was like working at Urban Outfitters and doing an off-Broadway rendition of Rent. And Questlove came in and heard what we were making. And he said, I got to have this. And that was You Got Me, the song you like to work out to. And they told me, like, when I gave it to them, I was like, make sure Jill stays on it. And at the last minute, they switched it to Erykah Badu.
Huh.
But Jill wrote it.
Erykah Badu.
When I went to tell, like, the people in the Roots that, like, I was still, like, talking to sort of that I was going to work with Dre, they were like, you working with Dre 10 years too late, bro. Good luck. Like, yeah, and we went on the run of runs.
Did they
and
really
we lit
say
up?
that?
Yeah, they're just all haters.
What happened to those guys?
No, I mean, they're on the Jimmy
They're
Fallon
on
show
Jimmy
as a house
Fallon, the
band.
Roots, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to just dog them out,
Questlove
like, whatever.
wait,
that was a
well,
part of
that's
my
the
journey.
Same group, yeah. Can you pull them up, Rob? They're on Jimmy Fallon every single night.
Yeah.
But do they make new stuff, or it's just they're playing whatever that they're
I don't
playing?
know. You would know that one.
I don't know. Like, I mean, they play a lot of like cool music.
What year?
I don't know about y'all, but that shit done pissed me off. That pissed me. Like, are you kidding me? You white devil. The Roots had it right from the beginning, bitch. Stupid fucker. This is exactly why we need to keep y'all culture vulture asses away from our black spaces. Y'all do nothing. You first of all, you already overestimate your contributions to it. Like, trust me, the Roots would have been the Roots without Scott. Well, they have been the Roots without Scott Storch. Let's be real. They're still playing on Jimmy Fallon to this very day. So stop playing in their faces, please.
That is crazy.
And it crazy as hell. And keep in mind, chill. First of all, this motherfucker is a Trump supporter, and he's on a conservative podcast talking this bullshit. So I don't know if you noticed, like, all those American. I don't know this guy's name because I don't follow too many conservatives. But you saw the flags and shit in his background and all that.
Yeah.
We have a comment. He looks like Elon.
And that's
both
not
of them. Exactly. Both of them ugly and badly built. Badly built bitches.
The nerve.
I tell you, honey.
And
well, anyway,
created Jill Scott too. Okay.
Boy, bye. Boy, bye. And you know what? I hope that Aries Queen comes out. Well, you know what? I ain't gonna tell y'all no lie. She hasn't really been an Aries Queen lately. You know, she's been kind of some of her comments been a little like Stephanie Mills. But I do hope she comes out and remind us that she is a true Aries and she cusses his fucking ass out. For real. That shit was this. I can't even think of a word for it. I don't even want to use egregious. Like, this was audacious. That's the word. Audacious is the right word I want to use for this.
Yeah, that caucasity bullshit.
Ooh, child. Well, y'all, that was all the tea that I had for us today. So before I head out and go and watch my stories, did any of you have any tea that you want to share or any tea that I might have missed? Well, y'all, it is always a pleasure. Thank you for stopping by and taking time out of your busy day to come and sip tea with me. We will be back tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time for the live show if you can make it. Until then, you all have a fabulous rest of your day.
Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye.